today's discourse or guidance, nasiha, that I want to share is really for the people and brothers and sisters who are traveling the journey in the path of purification. And anyone who's new may not understand some of these points, but you should just think that this is for you in the future, inshallah, when it makes more sense. So some of these things may be a little bit harder to understand, but for many of you, you will inshallah be able to understand them. And what is the topic? The topic is, you hear this saying in English, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. So if I asked you, who is your worst enemy, your greatest enemy? Automatically, many people think Shaitan, that he's our greatest enemy. Even Allah SWT says about him that he is your open enemy. The open enemy means that he has declared war on you, and if he was face to face with you, he would want to destroy you. He is your open enemy. It's like in the world, when two countries are at war, they're open enemies with each other. There's no hidden matter there. So Shaitan is your open enemy, but he's not the greatest enemy. He's not the biggest enemy. The biggest enemy is the same enemy which misguided Shaitan when there was no Shaitan to misguide Iblis. He was Iblis then, Azazil, but he was not Shaitan. But who misguided him? That is the purpose of the topic today. Who misguided Shaitan? Because that same being is inside me and you. And what is that? That is the nafs and the evil self. In English, evil self. So today, inshallah, I want to share 23 or so points. There are still more. More might be mentioned as we go. 23 minimum points regarding the nafs, all mentioned in one go, inshallah. So hopefully then, when you are going through a problem, you do not need to always go to someone and say, I'm going through this problem, but rather straight away you know that actually it's not me that has the problem, it's the nafs that has the problem. And you can become relief. Imagine such a relief when some of these points I'll mention. Just knowledge can give you the relief. The difference between, it's like being, let's say you're in the court of law, and when the person says you are guilty or you are not guilty, how much relief the person has in that instance when he's told not guilty. For the next 25 years he knows he's not in jail, but if he was told guilty, in that moment, 25 years of pressure of prison is upon him. So that type of relief a person can have when they know, I am not the one who has this problem, it is someone else. It is similar type of relief. So would you not want this relief? Of course you would want this relief. So this knowledge in here, when a person understands it, can give you this type of relief. So the first point which is mentioned, they're not in any particular order, some of them are related, some of them are not. The first point regarding the nafs is that it does not have a mind. It does not have a mind. So the nafs does not have a mind, it does not have an intellect. To understand this one point, you then need to know what is the human being made up of. So the human being is made up of, very quickly I'm going to go over these things. The human being is made up of the spirit, the soul. So the second point is that the nafs is not you, you are the soul, you are the spirit. So you are the spirit, your spirit has an intellect that it can use, the mind. The mind and the intellect is the thing which you use to decide matters. With the mind you can think about the future, you can plan your life, your time. Your mind is the distinguishing factor between right and wrong. It's your mind that understands what's right and what's wrong. Intellect. So you have a spirit, you have intellect, You have a body, but you are not the body. When a person passes away, we don't say such and such, this is them. We say this is the body of this person, the lash, the dead body of this person is not the person. But you have the body which you can use, like the mind is something you can use, the body is something you can use. So you have the spirit, that is you. You have the body which you can use, but that's not you. You use it. Then you have the mind and the intellect. You use this, but the mind and intellect is something you use, but it's not you. You are the spirit. And then there is the nafs and the evil self, but the nafs is definitely not you. The nafs is something else, but it is in you. It is in you. So, and then there's also the heart, and that is something else as well, inshallah I'll come to. The third point is that the biggest deception of the nafs is to make you think you are it and it is you. So the biggest deception, the nafs is very, very, very tricky. It's very clever in this sense because it knows you very, very well. It doesn't know anybody else. It knows you. And it knows you so well, sometimes better than you know yourself. And therefore and all it wants to do is enjoy. It just wants to enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. So it uses you to enjoy. So the greatest way that it can use you to enjoy itself is to make you think it doesn't exist. This is actually similar to Shaitan, that Shaitan's biggest deception on mankind is to make us think he doesn't exist. So the people that believe there is no devil, he has great hold over them because they think that, oh, if I do something bad, it wasn't the devil that whispered to me, that was just me, there was no evil thoughts, these thoughts are me. So Shaitan's biggest deception on mankind is to make them think he doesn't exist. Similarly, the nafs's biggest deception is to make you think it doesn't exist. Why? Because when you think the nafs doesn't exist, or you don't even know about it, that it's inside you, then now imagine you're receiving evil thoughts, and these thoughts are any evil nature, let's say, to watch a bad program, then, or to look at something unlawful, or to swear. Let's say you had an argument with your family member. Now you've had an argument and you gave in at that point to the argument. The nafs inside you was saying, say it, swear at him, and you eventually swore. You swore at your brothers or sisters, and afterwards you're regretting it. I swore, my Ramzan is ruined, my fast is ruined. Now it would be such a relief for you to know this, that you gave in to the nafs for 1 second only, but the rest of the day, the 99% of the day, you've not given in to the nafs. So who do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to look at the one thing bad you've done and ignore all the 99 good? Of course not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look at the 99% good you've done and ignore the one bad you've done. Yes, you should do tawbah, you should seek forgiveness from them, but you only gave in to the nafs once, and you can repent and you can and make amends for that. One thing does not ruin 99 good. One bad does not ruin 99 good. So this is a relief for you to know that, okay, I've not given in to myself, I've given in to something evil inside me, and I need to keep fighting it. So it's a relief for you to know that you lost one battle, but you've won 99. Is that not, who's more of a winner? The one who's lost won 99, and the one who's lost 99 and won 1. So you are more of a winner if you're only giving in a few times. So this is a mindset itself, that you should be happy. That, okay, alhamdulillah, I've only given in once, 99% of the day I've not given in. That should be a relief for you. It's like a person who's trying to stop smoking. From 20 a day, now in Ramadan he's having 2 a day. It's a relief. You should be thinking, alhamdulillah, from 20 I'm doing 2. It's something to be happy about, that the decrease has taken place. Not that he's smoking, but that the decrease has taken place. So if you didn't even know that this nafs existed inside you, then when you have this argument or this sin and you look upon something and you will think that it's me, I'm the evil person, I've done this bad thing, and there's no one else in me that's enticing me, that's harming me, that's trying to deceive me. There's no one else trying to use and abuse me. So then you think that I'm the evil person using and abusing myself. So, but you have someone else in there to fight, someone else in there to also blame. The Mashayikh blame when they admonish the nafs, they speak to it. Yes, they admonish the nafs, but they are also admonishing themselves. But more so, they admonish the nafs. They tell the nafs, the evil thing inside them, they tell that off. Not only themselves, they're telling the nafs off. What does this show? It shows that the nafs is the evil self inside you needs taming and needs putting down. Like an animal which is beyond control, it needs to be told off in a harsh way and it needs to be controlled in a hard way. So this nafs inside you is like this as well. So this is the biggest, let me give you one of the biggest examples in the world on this topic. And many people can become cured or begin the process of cure by understanding this. Many people in the world who are homosexual, gay, lesbian, have you never heard them say that we were born like this? Have you never heard this? They say we were born like this. This is a lie, and who is the one that's lying? It is the nafs inside them that is saying that you were born like this. So that is them giving an excuse. They are making an excuse. But if you told a person that you are not the one that is gay or homosexual or lesbian, your nafs is. Your nafs has this attraction, but not you. Immediately they will feel a relief the first time someone is telling them that you don't have the disease, it's the nafs inside who has it. And then they can for once be relieved to think that I am not the one who has this disease, but I don't have to embrace it. Many people in the world, they battle with it, and one day they tell everyone. And why do they tell everyone? This happens in Muslim community as well. This happens even in Turkey. There's a large, Muslim homosexual population there as well. The Muslim countries are facing this, and it's growing. So if they were all to know that it is not in you, it is in the nafs inside you that has this disease, and that nafs is trying to tell you, accept it, embrace it, because you were born like this. Then they're believing that, okay, I was born like this, and then they don't understand why it was sinful. But if they were told that it is the nafs inside you, and if you give in to it, you become sinful. But just for the disease, just for the desire being there, you are not sinful. Desire being there does not make you sinful. Manifesting it makes you sinful. Then they can be relieved that I can fight it and I can become cured. But the first step in the process of that cure was recognizing the disease. It is not me, it is my nafs. So the nafs has deceived all them people, making them think that I am the one with the disease. Same with arrogance and pride. Let's say you have jealousy towards someone, he has a nicer car, or he has a nice family, or he has sons and daughters and you have no children, or whatever it might be. Then you're thinking that I have jealousy towards him. It is not you that has jealousy, it is your nafs that has jealousy towards him. You need to accept that I don't have it, alhamdulillah, my nafs has it. The nafs inside me has it. You only become sinful when you embrace that jealousy and you manifest it. You manifest it with your body, with your mind, and with your heart. And I'll come to that as well. So this third point is just that the biggest deception of the nafs is to make you think you are it and it is you. And if you think that, then you've lost to the nafs already. It will tell you do this and you will go and do it because you're thinking that it's me telling myself to do this. It's not you, it's the evil self inside you. Fourth thing to know is it is a spiritual being. It is spiritual, it is not physical, so you can't open the body and say that it is here or it is there, it is there. It is in every part of your body, and it uses your body, your mind and your heart. So it is all over you. But it is spiritual being, and it uses these three faculties. The body, the 7 organs, it uses the mind, and it uses the heart. Let me give you an example of how it uses the body, mind, heart. Let's say you're in a mashwara, in a meeting. Now with the body, you could argue with the person and shout at them. Then your nafs has now used your tongue. But now let's say the person has restraint upon their tongue, they're not saying it. But rather now they're staying quiet, but in their mind they're thinking, oh, you are such a person, you don't understand anything, your opinion is always wrong, and my opinion is right. So now your nafs has not used your tongue, but you have become sinful with the mind, because your nafs, you've allowed it to use your mind. You should have subdued it, stopped it from using the mind. So here your tongue has been silent, but your mind has not been silent. You've allowed the nafs to use your mind upon the person. This is why thinking negatively of Muslims is a sin, because you're letting the nafs think bad of them. You're giving the nafs, you're not giving it the body, you're giving it your mind. And how can you let the nafs use your heart? What is heart to do with? If I ask someone, mind is mainly related to one thing, heart is related to something else. Who can tell me? Brother Shaban, what do you think? The mind mainly does one related particular thing, and the heart is something else.
Is it to do with the diseases?
No, that's good answer, but the diseases are more close to the heart. Something more simpler, we do it every day with our mind. Brother Sadiq, what do you do with your mind mainly? Think, thoughts. So the mind is all about thoughts. What's different about the heart? It's not thoughts, it starts with the F in English. Feelings. It's feelings. So now, with the heart, let's say you're in that meeting again, and the nafs, you're not letting it use the tongue, you've not let it use the mind, you're not thinking bad of the person, but you're letting the feeling of hate or jealousy or animosity or grudge live inside you. You have this evil feeling towards them, and you're embracing it. You're not fighting it. Now this is hard to understand for people, because it can only be understood with practice. But a simple, easy way to understand it is anger. When a person is angry, if I say subdue your anger, hold your anger, you know what I mean, because you all get angry. But if I say release your anger, unleash it, you also know what that means, because you've let it go. You've unleashed it, you're shouting, swearing, whichever. So when I say subdue, it means it's like holding in your anger. When I say release, it's like unleashing your anger. But that same ability that you have of unleashing anger and releasing anger, or unleashing and subduing, that can be applied to jealousy, to arrogance, to pride, to every evil disease. It can be applied to all of them, not just anger. So let's say you have jealousy towards this person. Now you've stopped with the tongue, you've not scratched their car, you've not backbited them, you've not sworn at them. These are all signs you're jealous of them. Because you can only belittle a person if you think he's worse than you or he's lower than you. That shows you have arrogance towards them. And you can only say something bad about a person if you want to reduce their honor, because you think that I should have that honor. So this shows jealousy. So arrogance and jealousy. So a person who backbites is a sign that he or she has jealousy and arrogance. This is why backbiting is so severe. It's not the backbiting only, it's coming from two of the major diseases. That's why it's such a great heinous sin. So this fourth point was the spiritual being inside you. It only uses your body, your mind and your heart. But you are the one who gives it permission to use them. Either you give it permission or you don't give it permission. So that's the reason why the sin is upon you, because you had the permission, you have the final say. The nafs does not have the final say. Yes, Uncle.
Just a clarification for myself. The heart and the spirit sometimes is referred as the same thing. Are you doing this? Is this the same thing?
It's not the same thing, no. It's a good question. It would come in there, but I'll mention it now. The heart is the control center of the person. think of like a station of a ship. Where the control center is saying to go, like the wheels in a car, the steering wheel, where that is saying to go, that's where the car goes. But two people are trying to take over the car. There is a good person and a bad person. The good person is the spirit, and the bad person is the nafs. So it's up to you to decide, who do you give the preference to. Are you going to give your spirit preference over the heart, or are you going to give the nafs the preference? So just think your heart is the control center. So if by control center here this means jealousy, are you going to, the nafs wants to have jealousy. If you let jealousy live inside you, you've chosen the nafs. If you fight the jealousy, you've given preference to the spirit. Why? Because the spirit doesn't like jealousy. The spirit hates jealousy. What does the spirit like? The opposite quality, which is to love for your brother what you love for yourself. If you choose another quality now, if you choose the pride and arrogance, you've chosen the nafs to have control of the heart. Because this quality lives in the heart. So it just lives there. But if you choose the spirit, this means you've chosen humbleness. Because humbleness beautifies the spirit. Arrogance, it beautifies the nafs, but this is not beautiful, this is ugly. The nafs likes it, but it's ugly. So Allah hates it. So choosing which opposite quality you have is the way that you choose spirit or nafs. If you choose the beautiful qualities, then you've chosen the spirit. If you choose the evil qualities, you've chosen the nafs. And which quality you choose, that's who you've given the heart to. Because it's in the heart that these qualities reside. So, but we don't need to go into that too much detail. What you need to understand is the aspects of the nafs and how to defeat it. Shall I put this up? So the fifth point is that it does not think ahead. This is related to the first one, that it does not have a mind. The nafs does not think ahead. So it only wants enjoyment now. It only wants the now. It's not bothered about tomorrow. It's not bothered about the day of judgment. It's not bothered about Jannah, Jahannam. It wants enjoyment now. Now. Whatever the enjoyment now is, that's what it wants. So let me tell you, you're all sitting here. What is the enjoyment you think your nafs wants now? Brother Ahmed, what do you think the nafs wants now? Any person. Yeah. So remember, the nafs desire isn't always a bad thing. It might be that it wants to be here, it might be that it doesn't want to be here. It might be that it wants to hear more, it might be that it wants to hear nothing. It might be that it wants to go to sleep, it could be that it wants to eat. So those people why is it makruh to complain about fast? To say that, oh, I'm feeling hungry, I want this, to complain about fast. Or it's too long, the days are too long. Because you're giving into the nafs' desire. The nafs is the one who's complaining, and you're giving into it. This is why it's disliked. Because you're choosing the nafs' desire over Allah's Prophet's wish. So it doesn't think ahead, it only wants to enjoy now. So you have to ask yourself, what does my nafs want now? And ask yourself, is it a good thing it wants, or is it a bad thing? You decide whether to give it or not to give it. So like when eating, the nafs wants to eat more and more and more. So you decide, shall I stop it now or shall I give it more? You decide, but the nafs will just desire more. So at Sahri time, it will decide, okay, today I'll follow this mosque because I have less time. So you decide, do you follow the nafs' desire now, or do you follow what's the right thing to do? The sixth point is, it only wants to fulfill desire now, so I've mentioned that, only now. It doesn't think about the future. The seventh point, it does not differentiate between halal and haram. The nafs is not bothered, is it halal, is it haram? Shaitan only wants you to do haram so that it takes you to Jahannam. Sometimes shaitan makes you do halal so that you're on the border of halal and haram, so that it then takes you beyond the border to haram. Shaitan wants haram so that you go to Jahannam. Nafs is not bothered about Jannah or Jahannam, it only wants to fulfill desire, whether it's lawful or unlawful. So if you're eating something it's not bothered is it halal or haram, it just wants to eat it. If it's sexual desires, it just wants to fulfill, it's not bothered halal or haram. Whatever it might be, the halal haram doesn't, the nafs doesn't think about that. It's your intellect, you have to decide, is this halal? I'll give it to the nafs. If this is haram, I won't give it. So before marriage, the same person was haram for you. After marriage, the same person is halal for you. So what does this show? That the command of Allah SWT is what makes something halal haram. But the desire didn't change. The desire was the same. The 8th point, number 8, the nafs changes state from bad to good, but the part people forget, everyone knows, most of you know that the nafs changes from bad to good, but it also can change from good to bad. And this means that just like this tissue has been purified, this tissue is clean, we can impurify it. As soon as you sneeze or wipe something with this tissue, you've impurified it. So just like your clothes can become purified, they can become impurified. Just like this mosque can become cleaned and hoovered and purified, it also becomes dirty and impurified. So what is different about the nafs? If a person has gone through the tazkiyah and the course, just because they've been through it doesn't mean they won't become impurified. You can also become impurified. So if you think that I'm done, that's all, and you don't be safe, you don't keep yourself safe, you can also fall into the same traps and become impure again. So just like you can become purified, you can become impurified. Just like the nafs can become good, it can also go into a bad state as well. Number 9, becomes purified. How? This is the question. How does it become purified? The nafs becomes purified only by striving against it. This is the only way it becomes purified, is by striving against it. So there are 2 ways of striving against it. There's no other than these 2 ways. So this is referred to as one of the golden principles. One of the mashayikh mentioned, if a person were to do these 2 things, then easily they become purified. So what are they? Number 10, this is one of the points. Do what it does not want you to do. Do what it does not want you to do. And number 11, do not do what it wants you to do. I'll say that again. So number 10 was do what it does not want you to do. Number 11, do not do what it wants you to do. So let me give you examples. With the sins, I'll mention sinful examples and normal, non-sinful examples. Sinful example is the nafs wants you to look at non-mahram. Now to become purified, you have to not look at the non-mahram. So the nafs wants you to listen to music. To become purified, you have to stop listening to the music, turn it off. The moment you decide not to give the nafs what it wants, that moment is where you become one little bit more purified. The moment the nafs wants to watch a bad program and you turn it off, that you've overpowered the nafs, you become one little bit more purified. So in the course you see the tick sheets. The tick sheets are the end of the day, but the real point where you're becoming purified is when you say no to the nafs and you go against it. So those were examples of where the nafs wants to do something bad. What about where the nafs doesn't want to do something? So for example, the nafs doesn't want to wake up for fajr. Now you wake up for fajr. The nafs doesn't want to pray tahajjud, you pray tahajjud. The nafs doesn't want to fast, so you fast. The nafs doesn't want to smile. Such a simple thing, the nafs doesn't want to smile. So in smiling is purification, when the nafs doesn't want to. So and the condition on these things is that is within Sharia. It has to be within Sharia, the law. So if someone said, my nafs wants to pray, so I'm not going to pray, he's deluded, he's misguided himself. The nafs wants to pray doesn't mean that now you go against it by not praying. You've misguided yourself. The shaitan has misguided him as well. If the nafs wants to pray, this is a good sign of the nafs. The nafs is in a better state. That the nafs is, mashallah, is in a better state then. So when the nafs wants good things, then this shows that your nafs is more closer to purification. So then don't lose that purification by saying, I won't give it this. If the nafs likes zikr, there is one person I remember, he said that he spends after Fajr 3 hours doing amals and ibadat and things and zikr, but he can't do the amal that's been prescribed by the teacher. So what does this tell you? 3 hours of doing other nafil ibadat, but can't do the one that the Shaykh has prescribed. This shows that the nafs enjoys those other zikrs, that's why he's doing them. But the one the Shaykh has prescribed, the nafs doesn't like, that's why he's not doing them. So who is he really following? He's not following the teacher, he's following his nafs. Because the nafs likes these things, he's doing them. The real sign of not following the nafs would be to do the one the mashayikh have said first. After that, do the other nafil ibadat, rectify your intention, and that's fine. But don't do it the other way around. And then all the ibadat, you're getting all the reward from those 3 hours is actually lost, because it really wasn't for Allah, it was for enjoyment. So these two are golden principles on themselves, if a person follows them. If I had more time, then I could, inshallah, I would like to go into how to stop the nafs with the body, how to stop it with the mind, how to stop it with the heart. And then the other one, when it doesn't want to do something, how to do that with the body, do that with the mind, do that with the heart. Because it's on these 3 levels where you become purified. Not just the body, but the mind and heart as well. So let me give you one example so you understand. Say a person has jealousy towards somebody. You feel you have jealousy towards somebody. Then you know from before, you know that, okay, it's not me, it's my nafs that has this. So now, if you were to scratch his car, you've manifested jealousy with the body. So you need to stop the nafs from doing this by not scratching the car, not backbiting him, not saying something about him. Then with the mind, you need to, if the nafs is thinking, when the person is jealous, they're thinking, I should have that, he shouldn't. The nafs is thinking he shouldn't have it, you should be thinking, Allah SWT has given it him, so it's good for him, and he deserves it, I don't deserve it. This is the type of thinking you should have in the mind. Then with the heart, there are many examples of these. With the heart, you would be feeling that I should have it, it's mine, the feeling is there. If you fail, you have allowed and embraced that feeling. You've embraced it, like anger, you've embraced the anger. But to fight it, you have to subdue it and keep it in. And say to yourself that I don't accept this feeling. I fight this feeling, I don't accept it. When you do this, when you fight the feeling inside you, then the nafs will become weaker and weaker. You fight it with the body, you fight it with the mind, you fight it with the heart. Then your nafs will become weaker and weaker and weaker. You will become stronger and stronger and stronger. So this applies with all the diseases: jealousy, pride, envy, hate, lust, all of them. Point number 12 is that it becomes weaker and weaker until it submits to you. I've shown you how it becomes weaker and weaker. The more you fight it with the body, with the mind, with the heart, by not giving it what it wants, and by also doing the things it doesn't want, when it becomes weaker and weaker and weaker, it eventually becomes so weak that it just submits to you and it says, whatever you tell me to, I'll do. So that's where your nafs is under your control, and you can only reach that state when you submit to your teacher. So the nafs submits to you and you submit to the teacher. And the teacher has submitted to the Prophet and the Prophet submitted to Allah. So indirectly the nafs is submitted to Allah. Okay. The opposite is also true. I said that it becomes weaker and weaker until it submits to you. Now imagine the other extreme. The person who on the first day of starting the course of the tariq, imagine, or before that, whatever the nafs said to you to do, you may have gone undone. So here, this person doesn't know that there's something else inside him living there. The person who fights the nafs feels the conflict inside him. He feels it. But the person who doesn't fight the nafs, they feel no conflict. Why? Because imagine someone standing behind me, always whispering in my mind, that says, do this, do this, do this. Whatever he says to do, I just go and do. Eventually, I will forget that there's someone behind me telling me to do something, because everything he says I just do. Eventually I'll forget that I'm obeying this person. But as soon as you turn around and say, I'm not listening to you, I'm not going to do that, that's wrong, and you start arguing and fighting with the nafs, then you realize there's something else inside me. And so the battle begins. So the person who submits to the nafs, everything the nafs says he just does. And there are people like this. Abu Jahl was like this. There are people in the world who are like this today. Everything the nafs says, they do immediately. They are followers of their feelings. And the person who the nafs submits to him, the opposite. He decides and the nafs follows. But it's a struggle to get there. Now, the next point, 13, is it sleeps, but it does not die. So, what does this mean? It sleeps. So, when you have done this mujahada and this striving against it, fighting and fighting, it takes years sometimes, but it is very much worth it. When you've done this striving, it sometimes goes to sleep. And that sleep means that it doesn't fight you, it just listens to whatever you say. It doesn't say anything against you. If you want to wake up for Hajj, they won't stop you. If you want to wake up for Fajr, it won't stop you. If you want to do any good deeds, it won't stop you. It will never be an obstacle anymore. So it goes to sleep. But just like something goes to sleep, they can also be woken up. So if you've ever experienced this, that your nafs has gone to sleep, do not think that it will never wake up. You need to keep it asleep by mujahada and striving against it. This is why Mashaykh like Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani, even after their nafs were purified, they still would do mujahada against it to keep it in check. So when we say it does not die, this means that even if the nafs is purified, it's not dead. It only dies when you die, but even then it goes with you. In the grave it's with you, Day of Judgment is with you, and the paradise and hellfire is also with you. In hellfire it's punished with you, and in Jannah it's enjoying with you. So this is the nafs. Now the next point, 14, is a saying: peace, war, peace. Peace, war, peace. What does this mean? It has a meaning. Peace, the first piece, there are two pieces there. The first piece and the last piece. The first piece is a bad type of peace. This is where whatever the nafs told you to do, you used to do. So you didn't have any internal conflict. Inside you, there was no conflict. So that's the piece that it's referring to, there's no conflict. It doesn't mean that you're happy because this person who the nafs is not purified are depressed, or unhappy, or dissatisfied, or in evil state. But this peace is a bad type of peace. It just means that there's not a conflict in them. The war is the time when they are battling with the nafs. Now you're undergoing mujahada, you have a shaykh and a teacher, he's told you to do certain things, you're doing them, the nafs doesn't want to do them, so you're battling with the nafs. The second piece, the end one, peace, war, peace, the last piece means that now there is no conflict in you again. But why? Because the nafs has gone to sleep. So if this person standing next to me is not whispering in my ear, there's no conflict. There's no one person saying this and another person saying the opposite. There's only one person, which is you saying, I want to obey Allah and His Messenger, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So then there is peace again, and this is the good type of peace. That's the peace which you're after. We're not after peace. Peace is our objective. But that type of peace is where the nafs has submitted. Now there's no conflict in you, so you feel satisfaction and warmth and peace inside. But that peace only comes after war. It only comes after the battle with the nafs. So if you're not willing to battle with the nafs, don't expect the peace. So this is the case. Number 15, you feel what it feels, and vice versa. It feels what you feel. This applies in marriage. Imagine in marriage, this point is in there and it solves many problems. You feel what it feels and it feels what you feel. I'm not going to go into the topic of marriage, but if you feel what it feels, the nafs, when you're doing, let's say you're doing prayer all night, or let's say Salat Tarawih, a good example is Ramzan. Salat Tarawih, the nafs is feeling tiredness or boredom, whichever. So you feel that as well, because the nafs feels it, you feel it. And so you think, why am I feeling bored in the prayer? This is not good. Then tell yourself, it is not you that is bored, it is the nafs that is bored. What should be your reaction? Your reaction to this boredom feeling should be, you try your utmost to be devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single prayer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at your unintentional devotion, He looks at your intentional devotion. Because your unintentional devotion is coming from the nafs, and Allah is not judging you on the feelings of the nafs. Allah judges you on your reactions to the nafs. So if you feel bored, don't worry, that's fine. But are you showing devotion? Are you not showing devotion? That's what you should be asking. So show as much devotion as you can to Allah. So it feels what you feel what it feels. In the topic of marriage, if a person doesn't feel love towards their spouse anymore, that's not a problem. Many people in the world, non-Muslims and Muslims, they separate just because they think, I don't feel anything anymore. Did you ever get married because of a feeling? If you did, then that was a mistake itself. But you shouldn't be getting married because of feelings, because feelings, the word qalb means ever-changing state. It's an ever-changing state. And science, recently they said that a human being in a day goes through 2,000 different feelings in a day. 2,000. This is scientists saying this today. So what does this mean? That if you feel love, good and well. If you don't feel love, that's no problem either. What should you do? You should do the verb of love, which means the action of love. That do something for each other, thank each other and show appreciation. Buy each other gifts. They don't have to be big gifts, small gifts, surprises. All these types of things, the things which bring the feeling of love. Don't think, oh, I don't have the feeling anymore and this is the problem. Feelings will one day come, the next day they'll go. In the same day, it is possible to feel the happiest you have ever felt, and in the same day, the worst you have ever felt. The same day. If anyone's experienced that, this is a strange matter, but it happens and it can happen. The same day can be the best day of your life and the worst day of your life. So, do not think that these feelings are the end of the world. They are from the nafs as well. And don't follow them. So we were on 15, now 16. Feelings are harder to fight than thoughts, and that is why it is harder to fight than shaitan. Shaitan, the Mashayikh mentioned that he who has conquered his nafs has conquered shaitan. If you conquer the nafs, you have conquered feelings. If you conquer shaitan, you've conquered thoughts. Feelings are more than 10 times harder to fight than thoughts. So the person who's conquered the feelings, the nafs, he's now free from, not free, but he's safer from shaitan. Why? That comes soon after, I mentioned this as well. Number 17, so 16 was feelings are harder to fight than thoughts. And this is the reason shaitan is easier and the nafs is harder. 17, the strong desire of the nafs is your greatest weakness, which shaitan will use against you. This is the reason why, if you conquer the nafs, shaitan is conquered as well. Because shaitan uses your greatest weakness. Therefore, you need to know what your weakness is. Your weaknesses, if you have more, you need to know what they are, because these are the very doors through which shaitan will come to you. So you have to ask yourself, everyone is different, our weaknesses are different. Think upon what your greatest weakness is, and then put something in place to prevent you ever falling into that weakness. Because that weakness is the same thing stopping you from attaining Allah's closeness. So the strongest desire of the nafs is your greatest weakness. These are the same thing. The stronger the desire, the greater the weakness. What you should do from this really is list them, write them down, your greatest weaknesses, and then seek help regarding them, that what can I do to stop this weakness manifesting. And when you have Sayyidina Allah's guidance is, turn your weaknesses into strengths. Turn your weaknesses into strengths. Your strengths you can in one sense forget about, because they're strengths. If a person is strong, does he need to think about his strength? No, he needs to focus on where the weakness is. If in a war, if a person is protecting a castle or a palace or a city, they don't look at the strong places, they look at the weaknesses. The enemy is looking in there to come through, and the people inhabiting are looking there to protect. That's where the attention should be. Very quickly then, the last ones, and then we'll break. Number 18, first, nafs inclines towards evil. The evil type of nafs, they incline towards evil. They fight you heavily. They heavily fight you, very strong, and they are sometimes dominant. This nafs is called nafs ammara, the inclining towards evil nafs. This normally is the case for a person when they first start the path to Allah. This is the nafs that person is changing. So this nafs inclines towards evil. Point number 19, this is very important. Although the nafs inclines towards evil, you make the decision, as it cannot force you, but it only has whispers and desire. So do you see, the nafs has the power of whispering as well as shaitan. It whispers to you, it tells you do this, go there, look there, let's do this. It plans, it tells you plan this thing for them. It's telling you to do certain things. So the nafs wants to enjoy the sin now, but sometimes it can't do it now. It knows because there are people around. So it's telling you, let's do it later on. Let's do this. So you're planning, it's planning the sin. That's the only one thing it can think ahead for, that I can't have it now, I'll have to have it later. But it still wants it now. So you make the decision, but you need to realize that the nafs has two weapons, whisper and desire, and shaitan only has whisper. He doesn't have desire. He doesn't have desire. The power of desire against you. Number 20, after the nafs ammara, it goes from after the war state, it becomes quiet. Like I said before, it becomes asleep. Many of these points, they overlap, they're related. So it becomes nafs mutma'inna, which is a peaceful soul. It's tranquil, it's quiet, it's peaceful. It's like it's asleep. This is a sign of purification. And finally, number 21, then it becomes inclines towards good, and it is always pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will. So there are different levels here. It inclines towards good, and a higher level is it's always pleased with Allah's will. So the sign of this person who has this nafs is anything that happens in his life, he sees the positive side, and he or she is always happy with the results. If the bus breaks down, if the car breaks down, if it's raining in June, if the holiday things go missing, the person is always happy. They're always satisfied. It doesn't mean that you can't tell the police if something's gone missing, if someone's harmed you, you can't admonish them. If your children are doing bad things, you can't tell them. It doesn't mean these things. But it means internally, you're happy and satisfied with the results. Externally, you still need to do what needs to be done. But internally, you be satisfied. He's always happy. Last ones I've already mentioned, 22. The inner mashwara, I mention this because many of you do mashwaras and consultation. How to become purified through mashwara. As you know, one of the etiquettes is in mashwaras and consultations, one of the main purposes of them is purification. It's not to get things done. If you think that mashwara is to get things done, then you think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in need of you to make things done. Allah does not need us. The mashwara is there, the real purpose of it there is to get us purified. And if Allah is wanting things done, He can make them all done in an instant. So the real purpose of mashwara, interaction between people, this is where the purification lies, is to purify you. Now the question is, how do you become purified through mashwara? And I'll mention this now. When a person, in mashwara, everyone's opinions are being given. And someone's opinion will be opposing yours, opposite to yours. And he might put you down. and make you feel lonely. So he shouldn't do that. No one should put you down. That's a wrong reaction on his part, a wrong action. Your reaction should be that my opinion is the worst opinion, I am lonely, and their opinion is right. You can still give your opinion. It doesn't mean you don't give your opinion. You still give your opinion, but you should think lowly about yourself. So now let's say it's even worse, they're shouting at you. Then what you can do with the body, mind, and heart, remember all three apply. If you're silent with the tongue, you don't say anything, but your mind is saying bad things to him, your heart is embracing evil feelings towards him, you are still becoming impurified. You're not becoming purified through mashwara. Very, very little. There's little purification with the tongue, but there's more impurification with the mind and heart. If you want to become purified when he is saying bad things to you, then say good with the tongue, don't say bad. In the mind, don't think bad of him, but think good. And in the heart, don't allow any evil feelings towards him, but subdue them, keep them in, and rather try to have good feelings by thinking good thoughts. If you do this, then through mashwara and consultation, you can become purified as well. And the sad truth, there are many people who will do mashwara for many years and have not learned this technique, have not been practicing it, and so mashwara has not purified them or helped them. So mashwara and all these other things, they work. All of these things, they work, they function perfectly. The course functions perfectly. It's the individual who's going through them who's not following them properly. So this is 23 points regarding the nafs. More things may have been mentioned, and still there are more as well, inshallah. But hopefully they can be, anyone understands them and practices them, inshallah they can faster purify their nafs. So if anyone has any questions now regarding this topic, then they can ask, and then inshallah we'll have a break.
Why is nafs al-lawwama?
These different states of the nafs are they mentioned in books, nafs al-ammara, nafs al-lawwama, and all these others. They are just different states that the nafs goes through, general states. There are not just 7 or so, there are many. And those 7 that are mentioned are, you could say, 7 milestones that most people go through. But the 3 that I've mentioned, or the 4 that I've mentioned, they're the main ones that you just need to know. Knowing these technical words, as you see, most of these things I've mentioned are very simple words. There's no difficult technical words. Even those words, Ammara, Mutmainna, they don't need to be known, because knowing them doesn't benefit you. Knowing what type of nafs it is to then how to fight it, well, that's what I focus on, how to fight it, the body, mind, heart reactions. They're the important things. So nafs al-ammara and those things are not necessary. All you need to know is how to fight it. If it's inclining towards evil, then this is a bad state. The nafs al-lawwama is after that, where it's become one step better, that it doesn't incline towards major, but it's more towards minor only. So, but these things, just by fighting it, it will go to the next one, then to the next one. Now the other thing is, if a person thinks, I have this nafs, I have this nafs, if they're thinking that they have a better nafs, that itself is a bad thought. If they're thinking they're in a good state, this itself is dangerous. You should be thinking that you're in an evil state. If you think you're in a good state, really then you're in a bad state. So now the question is, how do you see how of a tricky, deceptive type of topic this can be? This is why a person needs a shaykh and a teacher. The shaykh masters this topic of nafs and its changes of states. You might be saying one thing to the shaykh, but the shaykh knows that you really need something else, because it's the nafs speaking and not you. And sometimes when a person is complaining, their nafs needs to be admonished, not them. And then the shaykh knows this and does this. So this is why a person needs a shaykh, because you have this big enemy inside you, and without the teacher you can never purify it. I say never. The number of people that can be counted on their fingers in history. can be counted on 10, less than 10 people. Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam, a few other people, Hazrat Khidir radiallahu anhu. Very, very few. Majority, 99.999% of people won't be able to purify their nafs without a teacher. Let me give you one example. This one person, he was in a Jamaat with another organization, and we went to his house for Dawah and Tabligh to invite him. And he said, I have been with a Shaykh such and such for 13 years. He was arrogantly boasting. I have been with such a person for 13 years, he said to us. And then he said, when I go to these gatherings, I can see the bad traits in these pious people. Imagine, I can see bad things in good people. So we were thinking, it was difficult to mention this to him because he was not listening to all the basic things, and outwardly he was practicing. Outwardly he was wearing a turban, had a beard and everything. And he was with this Jamaat for 13 years. But what does this show? When he said that I can see bad things in good people, this shows, the Prophet said, a believer is a mirror to another believer. If you see good in another person, it's actually good in you. If you see bad in another person, it's actually bad in you. How difficult is it to see bad in good people? Very, very hard. What does that say about him? That the amount of evil in him was incredibly large. That he was seeing such bad things in good people, in very good people. And there he was boasting about having a teacher for 13 years. But his teacher was not a one-to-one guide and a shaykh. His teacher was just a speech and listen. You come, you listen, and you go. So those types of people that do that, they come to speech and listen and go. They're like this. You could be there for 13, 20 years. You would not have benefited. You would rather have become worse. But those people who have one-to-one practical guidance, step by step, they change. They improve. So be weary. This type of nafs exists as well. Yes.
For example, like I can understand like ticking and like outwardly like following the course and whatever yourself actually detailed all these topics, it covers in outwardly like course, alhamdulillah. But sometimes the state of the nafs like is good, is bad, is good, is bad, and sometimes is good for a long time, then gradually incline towards evil, and it becomes such worse, then you start hating yourself, and sometimes it's like, like you start feeling yourself down, you're bad and this and that or the other, and you can't change. So how we can figure out this one?
So this shows that what you have mentioned there is this shows how many different states a person goes through. It's the nafs is going through all these different states. The other thing, there are many factors in there, and one of them was mentioned before, that everyone's weaknesses are different. So in one area, your nafs might have no temptation whatsoever. Let's say gambling. You could go to Las Vegas and not be tempted one little bit to gamble. But another person goes to Las Vegas. There are people, I saw a video the other day in a school, and they were showing about Las Vegas, about gambling. They were teaching children not to gamble and their harms. There's a person that goes every single day for 10 years. They have been to the same casino doing the same things. So do you see, one person's desire and weakness is one thing, another person's weakness is something else. So for you, the weakness, when the nafs is weaker, it was because then the weakness of the nafs was manifested. And that could be lustful desires, it could be alcohol, it could be pornography, it could be anything. But when it's stronger, when it was feeling stronger, in a safer, better, more state closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this type of state, then it was because the weaknesses it was far away from. So if your weakness is manifest, that's when your nafs has become dominant and you will feel down and lowly and disgusting. But when the weaknesses, you've kept yourself away from them, then the nafs will be purer, you will feel more light and more purity in you, more light will come, and you will feel better as well. So really, if a person wants to maintain a better state, then the way to maintain that is to find their weaknesses, turn them into strengths, For example, what do I mean by turn them into strength? A simple example, if a person's weakness is the TV or the internet, then do not go on the internet unless you're with other people. This will stop you going on bad things. So you decide that I will not go on the internet unless I'm with other people. So on the computer, put the computer from your bedroom to the living room. Now you can't go on any bad images or anything. Or if it's the phone is a problem, get rid of this phone and get a phone which does not have internet. This is a sacrifice, this is mujahada, but this is the way that you become purified, that you make these sacrifices. So turning your weaknesses into strength means putting these types of actions in place so that those weaknesses can never manifest. If they don't manifest, they don't happen, then the nafs won't fall into those traps again, and you will be in a, alhamdulillah, better, more tranquil, happy, peaceful state. Why does a person become unhappy when they're sinful? Because darkness enters them. This darkness enters and the person feels regret, remorse, they feel down, they feel depressed. But when they are not doing those sins, they feel light, they feel happy, they feel peaceful, because they're not sinning. Every single sin causes you harm. That's the very reason why it's a sin. It's a sin because it's harmful in this world. So a person can never think that I'm sinning and I'm going to be happy. They'll only be happy when they stop the sins. So to change these states from bad to good, to maintain stability and steadfastness, the only way is those weaknesses need to be prevented from manifesting. Then you will be able to stay more steadfast. And the second thing to know is, when the nafs goes through different feelings and states, ignore them. Do the thing which is right and just ignore the feelings. Don't follow the feelings. If you follow the feeling, no one in the world will go to work, because most people don't like to go to work. So no one in the world will go to work, but they still go. So this shows that you have the ability to not follow your feelings. Now do it on the sunnah of the Holy Prophet and following his path. You do it for dunya, do it for deen. So inshallah there we finish.